live from the Bayside Bunker. It's another edition of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Roscoe, and Saturday was supposed to be a huge day of racing. Of course, still is down in Gulfstream Park, where we will be today with the Holy Bull Stakes, but of course, the unfortunate cancellation of not only Oaklawn, what seems like now, but Aqueduct's getting a bunch of snow as well. Turfway's getting a bunch of cold and snow, so the Mother Nature is out to attack us again, but fortunately down in South Florida, even though it actually will be cold per se, but we still run as it is perfectly sunny and in the 60s. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you guys all so much for joining the show. I greatly appreciate it. If you guys do end up enjoying the episode tonight, which we sure hope you do, please go down below the video player, hit the like button, and hit the subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it, because not only is hitting the like button completely free to do, but it is the best way to help out our channel as it pushes these videos and others that we have on the podcast out into YouTube's algorithm to hopefully bring more horse players to the HHH Racing Podcast. Of course, for that, we thank you. We have shows every Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern with our West Coast show, Pacific Horseplayers, right here every single Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern with us, Bettin N Boozin, and every single Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern with Picks and Ponies. They will cover the late pick 5 of the card we are going to cover tonight. That includes 4 stakes, 2 of them, of course, graded in points for the Oaks and Derby. So lots of stuff to look forward to down in South Florida this weekend. You can, of course, listen to us always on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor if you're more of an audio listener. So please go rate, review, and subscribe over there if that interests you at all. TikTok and Instagram at Bettin N Boozin Podcast. If you're in for more short form content, I do post it over there. We have a show every single Wednesday before this called The Leaderboard, brought to you by our good friends over at TwinSpires, who also sponsor every single episode of Bettin N Boozin. It's a complete tournament recap and look forward for every single week. If you guys see it on the screen right now, live money contest play over on TwinSpires.com. They put on fantastic stuff, anywhere from very low buy-ins to big buy-ins with tournament seats, Kentucky Derby betting challenge seats, NHC seats, and everything else in between. It's a fantastic show. If you're either brand new into handicapping or are a seasoned tournament veteran, we have you covered with a great show in The Leaderboard, again, brought to you by our good friends over at TwinSpires. We also have a brand new show called Wire to Wire, which talks the coast-to-coast pick 5 every single Thursday night. So if you guys play that bet, you definitely want to check it out. Of course, sponsored by our good friends over at First Racing and Santa Anita. So thank you very much to them. Of course, Triple Crown Trail Guys will be posted as videos intermittently throughout the Kentucky Derby season, sponsored by our good friends over at Adelphi Racing Club. It talks about not only Adelphi's horses and who they have coming up, but also hits on the Kentucky Derby contenders as they continue to flow through these prep races over the next coming months. If that interests you, again, please check out Triple Crown Trail on our YouTube channel over in the videos section. Also, our power picks that we sell over on Patreon, guys, those are fantastic. They really, really do pay for themselves. Not only that, they give a ton of information for only $5 a weekend, $21.60 a month, which is how it comes out on Patreon. We are $2.07 all time. We're over 1,000 picks now over the last almost 5 years now. So please, if you're interested you at all, please go check us out, patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast, or you can go over to hhhracingpodcast.com, where you'll find our yearly subscription, which congrats to Chase and David for winning our monthly contest that we have as part of Team HHH. We have pick and praise money contests over there where you can win $100 if you come in first. If that interests you as well, you also get every single Power Picks tip sheet that will come out through the rest of the year over with Team HHH. All information on that is on hhhracingpodcast.com. Guys, that's very quick, as you guys know, trying to get through that a little bit quicker, but I'll bring on my co-host and we'll get right into the Middle Pick 5, which actually features a stakes race, but also features some very competitive races at that. From the Philadelphia area, my good friend Andrew Rosinski, and from the from East Coast of New Jersey, guy who was in the Bayside Bunker the last weekend, Patrick Kunsel. Gentlemen, Holy Bull Day again. We were supposed to cover Southwest, and shout out to Matt Dinnerman, who was going to join us. Graciously appreciate him, giving us his time. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out, but we will have Matt Dinnerman on in the future, but still, Holy Bull Day, Andrew, it's a fantastic start to the Kentucky Derby season in South Florida, which, again, only gets better with time. But even right now, there's some really nice horses on this card.
Yeah, this card is from top to bottom pretty good. A lot of competitive races on 3 different surfaces, and hopefully we find some winners.
Yeah, obviously, Patrick, that's the hope and goal. But obviously, a lot of these horses looking to pick up Oaks and Derby points with again, there's not small fields by any means. Even the races we're going to cover on the undercard are some pretty big fields as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, got a couple, one or two claiming races or optional claiming races that are full size fields. So this is going to be good. I know that we're a little upset what happened with Mother Nature, but moving into this sequence was not too bad. I'm happy we settled on this because this is definitely fun, and we might be able to catch some prices in here.
Yeah, and obviously that'll be the ultimate goal for anyone playing that middle pick 5. But let's bring up our picks on the bottom side of the screen, and we will go into it, gentlemen. It is the race 3. It's an allowance optional claiming 20,000. 54,000 is the purse. 7 furlongs on the dirt for Florida breds, 4-year-olds and up. As I put our picks on the screen right now, of course, this is covering Gulfstream Park on a Wednesday. If you watch Bettin N Boozin at all, you know that we do not have morning lines, unfortunately, and we don't have numbers in the program. So, guys, if you can, talk about the numbers as well as the horse's name that we are talking about. But I don't think it's going to be too hard, considering we have the same exact top 3 across all 3 of us in this race, which I don't know if that's ever, besides like a 3 or 4 horse field that we've covered before, I don't know if that's really ever happened on Bettin N Boozin, and especially Andrew and Patrick are ones to try and price shop, try and find their prices, especially if I'm in cahoots with them. Either we're going to be obviously very right or very wrong, and we hope very right. We are all going with the number 1, Noble J, David Fox, and Tyler Gaffleone. Andrew, I'll let you talk first. Again, very impressive efforts. Had an 87 in his maiden win at Gulfstream Park. Regressed a little bit on the numbers last time, but facing some decent horses in there, including one of them that's running today in Awesome Beast and We're Ready for that matter.
Yeah, a couple horses come out of this same race last time out, and I think this one is just going to benefit from the rail speed that this horse has. You get Tyler Gaffleone. Sure, Joe Bravo hops off this horse and goes to our guess co-second choice that we all have. But this one I think will benefit from the inside post, and it shows speed. I think the 7 furlongs isn't an issue with this one, and I don't see much other speed besides the far outside horse in the 7, who is going into a lesser barn and off the claim. I think this one might trip out and just get a loose lead and never look back with Gaffleone in the irons.
I mean, Pat, that was exactly my thing. Obviously, the 7 that Andrew mentioned is to the outside in 30-pound test, but going from Jose D'Angelo in an $8,000 claimer to now Ernesto Ochoa putting up on this spot, definitely a completely different animal, even though he actually has some really good back numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But as of late, especially with the drop down, and this is going to be off a tiny bit of a layoff, just over 2 months. So I agree with you. My hope for the number 1 in Noble J with Gaffleone is that obviously David Fawkes has had a really nice start to the meet as well. But again, just go and never look back.
Yeah, I couldn't believe I was actually reading an article on DRF this morning. I think Mike Welsh wrote it, that David Fox is leading the training title right now. That's pretty impressive with some of the barns that he's facing. Obviously, that's probably going to fizzle away just with the number of horses that he had, and he said that in the article. But with Noble J, I agree with everything you guys said, and I think that last race, he was third across the track pretty much the whole way. And listen, did end up losing by 5, but I do think that doesn't shy me away from the fact that this horse is should have the lead here by himself and should appreciate that. So I was trying to beat around this horse, but this just seems to be too ideal, right? Rail draw too, guys. So I feel like it's tough. I don't want to go against a horse that I know is going to have the lead.
I agree. And obviously, there's other horses in here that definitely have the numbers to win, but I think the pace advantage for the 1 Noble J is going to be at least the complete advantage to him. Awesome Beast is the horse, I guess, makes it easy. The horse we all have in second. Andrew, I mean, this is going to be a horse that's going to sit somewhere in mid-pack, but really his best running has come with paces to run into and stuff like that. Even though he's done it with colder paces, I just don't know if necessarily on the win end is going to be it for Awesome Beast. But he's 7 for 8 in the trifecta, and only being one of those being wins. Does get blinkers on, but again, maybe win end might be a little too much for this horse. So I like underneath.
Yeah, I mean, this horse always makes a run and always finishes in the top 3. It seems like 7 for 9 in the money lifetime. But yeah, I like the blinkers on. If there's a pace collapse with the 7, maybe dueling with the 1, this one's gonna be the horse to pick them all up. And at the end, we might get 3-1, 4-1 on this horse, but it's probably gonna be a close second choice.
That's kind of my thinking as well, Pat. Again, if there is a pace scenario where the 7 actually does get out to the lead and harbor the 1, Awesome Beast is the most likely second choice to pick him up.
Yeah, and Awesome Beast, guys, I don't know if you caught any of those last 2 replays, really goofy in the stretch. And I think the blinkers on is going to be much needed here. I don't know, maybe a little more forwardly placed, which would go against what we want the 1 to do, or to go against the 1. But I just looked at that race 2 back and just had the same problem. Needed to find more in the stretch and just was getting goofy. And hopefully, the blinkers will help this horse, but I can't trust the horse, especially when they're probably going to vie for favoritism, like Andrew said.
Right, and 7 for 9, as I mentioned before, but 6 of those 9 being second and third place efforts. So hard to trust him on the win end, but definitely one to include in your exotics and your exactas and trifectas. The only other horse we have in there, guys, is the number 5 Slim Slow Slider. I don't know how Pete Aiello does it, because it's volatile. My apologies again. When I don't have numbers in front of me, it makes it kind of hard to put it in here. Andrew, this is one that needs to have a pace scenario in front of him, but set 5 of those 9 efforts at Gulfstream Park in second, 7 for 9 in the top 3. Another one always comes with his run, gets IRAD aboard. Just again, one also might just be a little slow on numbers, but definitely against it from a pace scenario standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping blinkers can get this horse better because I think this horse has a little bit of a thing called seconditis. In my opinion, it just hangs a little bit too much. And I mean, if you got to have a trainer that's going to be able to get this horse to turn around, it would be Abreu. And Irad gets on this horse who has never ridden this horse. So, that's also a good sign. And it's another one like the 2 where it kind of needs to have a little bit of a pace collapse. But if anybody's going to be running late, it's going to be the 2 or the 5. And both get blinkers. So that's an interesting combo there too.
Yeah, no kidding. And second, I just kind of like my horsepower that I gave out last week. I cannot believe that horse lost. I thought I was about as free as a bird, if you will. And I
thought Kyle's walls were coming down in his house when that horse was coming for the I forget who was on the lead there, but horsepower, got even with that horse in the stretch, and
he was more than even. He was by him by like a length and lost. I could not believe my eyes. But volatile, Pat, anything more to add before we move on?
No, I mean, listen, I think this is the perfect setup for IRAD. It's just a matter of this horse is going to have enough to get by the 2 that we have on top here, guys. So the 1 and the 2, I should say. Other than that, I don't know. I feel like this is a 2-horse race, but the 1 I would prefer the most.
I do completely agree with that. And everything. I see a bunch of people in the chat. Racing Downwind was here. My mom was here, of course. Thanks, Mom. I know you enjoy your shout out at the start of every show. Greatly appreciate it. Chris Couples, better watch for those falling iguanas. Really, honestly, people are losing their minds down here. It's going to be below 50 on Sunday, so that means parkas and everything else. Gloves, hats, the whole 9 yards for people down here. And falling iguanas. It's literally like they have a raining iguana warning down here because when it gets below freezing, with them being cold-blooded, they just faint and they just sleep until they warm up again and get woken up. It's actually a really insane phenomenon. But yeah, Chris, we will be watching for those. Terry Frank, my friend, hello all from 37,000 feet. Look at that. The dedication from my man, Terry. Watching from the plane, greatly appreciate. Welcome.
I wonder if he paid for the Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Well, hope so. Obviously, Hope he didn't. Obviously,
Well, we gotta pay him back now with some winners, right?
Yeah, no kidding. And Katie, new person that I said, thanks so much for joining the show. Greatly appreciate you watching, guys. Let's move on to race number 4. It's a maiden optional 50,000, 6.5 furlongs on the dirt. For obviously maidens, but for males, as I bring up on the screen right now, you'll see, and I'll bring up our picks as well because we don't have morning lines. Patrick, very based, my friend. We're both going with the number 2, Make a Motion for Gaffleone and George Weaver. Andrew, you are going with the number 9, Pike for Johnny V and Fernando Abreu. So obviously Fernando Abreu, a big South Florida guy, always going to have his horses running. And Pat and I are both also interested in this horse. Have him second, but you have him on top, so you get to tell us why you're wrong. What did you like most about Pike?
I mean, this horse hasn't really done anything wrong in 3 starts. And last time out, I mean, sure, this horse seems like it's just missing by a head bob each time. I like that. I mean, because it shows that this horse hasn't swayed away from a fight in this any of its starts. It's improving each time out, and now it gets Lasix, and Johnny V sticks on this horse, and I think that this horse has a chance to win today, and it probably would be a good price. I mean, I'm not thinking like a long shot or anything like that, but I don't think this one's going to be the one that takes the money. And yeah, I mean, I like the Lasix because it's the first start as a 3-year-old. It's already a gelding. Why not take a little bit of a shot here? Yeah, this race is tough. I think it's wide open. So Johnny V at probably 4-1. I'll take that any day of the week. Yeah,
no, I agree with that, Pat. Obviously, just hard to pick a horse that's come in second 3 times in a row, and what's going to be not the favorite. I do agree with you, Andrew, but a shorter price. I think he's run well anywhere from 5.5 on the Tapeta to a mile on the dirt. So the horse can do a whole lot, but just likes coming in second, really realistically. Now sprinting on the dirt will be the first time for this horse doing that. But Andrew did point out he gets Lasix for the first time and gets Johnny V aboard. So lots of good things to like on this one, but at a shorter price on the win end, again, I'll probably have this one beat me at least on top.
Yeah, I would agree. And the one thing, watching that replay, it was funny listening to Pete Ayala announce that with Hawk and Pike. They were dueling in the stretch, and the way he was rattling off those names back and forth, I don't know how Pike didn't go by the horse. I was surprised by that. So I don't know. I do hear what you're saying. I wonder what the odds are going to be on this horse. Do you think favorite?
I think probably second choice because there's other horses that'll take some money in here.
Obviously, there's big connections, right?
Yeah, I Make a Motion also with George Weaver. Got D'Angelo horse in there as well as Brad Cox and Irad. That horse will also take a ton of money as well. But obviously, with that big speed figure, you'd imagine that horse would take a good amount of money. But Pat, you and I are both going with Make a Motion, the Vacoma gray colt for George Weaver. Gaffleone hops back aboard. This is coming out of that race with Jackson Hole, which we mentioned so many times on this podcast already, probably because we weren't sure how good Jackson Hole was actually going to be because he really didn't do too much, anything special in that race. Was really goofy. Came back in a race that unfortunately was scratched down, but did win very nicely. So obviously, a Make a Motion can take the same step forward. This race being nothing special, I think he's got a massive chance.
Yeah, so do I, Kyle. And I think that him not being in for the tag is a telltale sign that Weaver wants to keep this horse and believes that this horse is something. And listen, Weaver obviously has a great barn, but that price tag, I would think he likes to keep this horse in the barn, right? And that first race, you can't shy away from this horse. Listen, the horse, was on or near the lead, and just kind of tired late, so it's gonna, get a little shorter in distance here, which should appreciate that. Has had some nice works. Was going to get Lasix for the first time. I don't see, as a Vacoma, we all know how the Vacomas are doing, right? I don't see why this horse doesn't have a big shot and should improve second out here. But, the one thing that, does concern me a little bit is just that, sometimes, at this meet, there's some pretty heavier maiden special weight purses. Why is he not putting that horse in there? This just could be a softer spot. But there is some horses in here that you would make the case that it's just not that soft. But I really do like this horse, and I think it's going to be forwardly placed and should have a big shot.
I think the biggest thing is, Pat, is that he's not in for the tag. And obviously we'll get to that here in a second with a horse that you and I have in second. Andrew has nowhere, which I'm sure is the same angle that we're taking with that horse. I just agree with you that George Weaver wants to keep this horse. He's working well at Palm Beach Downs. And if he doesn't have an intense amount of pace pressure, which judging what the firsters do, at least with the horse that have run, he doesn't have that much in front of him. So I really do like Make a Motion. Obviously, wouldn't be necessarily a win bet for me. Also, you're going to have to see the board. Unfortunately, you can actually see it with the second race with your ADWs and the probables and stuff like that to see where the money's going with these horses, because that I think will be the telltale sign in here on who is live and who is not. Obviously, Game Boss for Delgado could be really nice. Just a lot of good horses in here. Andrew, I'll let you talk first before we move on to the 8 and then move on to the next race. Tariq Mubarak and Jalmad for Luis Saez aboard, working super out at Gulfstream Park. First time out, isn't for the tag. However, Mubarak is actually sneaky good with his firsters and been good at this meet. Positive ROIs all around. So what'd you like with Jalmad?
Yeah, I just want to like take a job with one of the firsters here. And I think this one attracts Saez, which is a good sign. And these connections are very sneaky in these type of spots. I do like Mako Motion. That's my third choice. I had that horse on top against Jackson Hole in his debut, and the horse just didn't really fire out the turn. But I do like those works on that one as well. So I think these two inside horses both have shots. But I like the little bit of the value angle with Saez over a horse that didn't really show much in the debut. So yeah, that's why I put the 1 over the 2. But I'm just really a fan of Pike here, and I think Pike might be a little bit a step above here,
which is definitely fair. At least definitely on the numbers on the screen. Pat, you and I both have Wall Street in third, and this would be by far a horse that I would have on top, and probably winning this race by 5. Except he's in for the tag, and I just don't understand. I'll bring up my points here in a second, but I want to hear what you have to say first. I mean, Windstar Farm, homebred, into mischief, and they'll talk about the dam too. Just in for the tag just really rubs me the wrong way in this race.
Yeah, it's kind of putting up waving the white flag, as they like to say, right? Yeah, I don't know. I did that debut just didn't break too well. Did move on, but just not to the point where you could get anywhere near excited. So this is a tough situation for this horse where you want to believe, it's got a couple works in him. It's been steady working since then, but I don't know, guys. Cox puts this horse in here now, hoping maybe he can get through the claiming window. But if this horse wins, this horse is getting claimed, and there's no doubt about it. So I just think that Wall Street, that race was decent. It had some quality horses in there, but they need to see much more. And for the connections, a homebred for Windstar, they might give up pretty quick.
And I can't believe they're giving it. This is why I would have this horse on top almost 10 out of 10 times. Into Mischief, we all know how good he is. Well-humored, guys. Just look at, Dirt Sprint, 4 for 6, 103. You know who that is? Patch Adams. This horse is a full to Patch Adams, and they're completely giving up on this horse. That just doesn't, it completely rubs me the wrong way with this one. Chris Couples brought up the fact that this horse worked horrible before the debut, was shocked that went off favorite, but obviously you could probably see why, how well this horse is bred. Just tons of, Windstar homebred, Cox, Iret, all the makings of a big big turnaround. And I don't want any part of this horse now that this horse is in for the tag. If this horse wins by 6, I'll say I'm completely wrong. And if I'm completely wrong, realistically, so are the connections, because they probably just lost this horse for 50,000. That's going to go on and win this race by 8. But I can't have this horse on top for all the reasons I just mentioned before. And Nathan Woodward, before we move on, Nathan says any chance the 7's improving numbers can compete here. He's just running a little bit lower, Nathan, really. He's got that maiden 50, maiden 25 last time, even though he got pace to run into. Hey, look, it's Carlos David, Junior Alvarado. Both of those guys have all the ability in the world to move up horses. So with a race that's got so many question marks, you took someone like the 7. Would not doubt you one bit at all. In race number 4, I'm going 2-9-8. Pat's going 2-9-8. Andrew's going 9-1-2. Guys, moving on to the one stake race that we have in the sequence we're going to be covering. It's actually a really nice one at that. It's a mile and a 16th on the turf. It's the Kitten's Joy Stakes. Rails back at 24 feet, so not the 66 feet it was at on Pegasus World Cup Day, which hopefully it might make a little bit easier of a time to pass around the track for 3-year-olds only, as I bring up on the screen right now and put our picks on the screen in this race. Pat's going 2-4-6. Andrew's going 2-5-6. I am going 6-2-5. You guys are both going with Alpeland, who is the most likely morning line favorite, at least in my opinion. Pat, I'll let you talk first. Andrew, I'll let you talk after that. Like I said, very, very good. He's 3 for 6, first time gelding, winner of the Dania Beach last time out, which I believe we covered on this show. If not, we all definitely looked at it, so we all remember how well this horse ran. Tactical speed, Pat, just a lot of things to like for this son of Vekoma.
Yeah, for sure. And, the gelding obviously is dated to the beginning of this month. We all have to question, when that happens, because there's no really regulations on that. But that's, a conversation for another day. This horse, though, Opryland, the steady progression here has just been very, very nice. And I think this horse kind of reminds me a little bit of the progression that Nitrogen had in her 2-year-old year. And Kasi has brought up, going back to actually the dirt with this horse. I saw an article this morning, so that's interesting. I just think last time the pace, as honest as it was, the way he was able to hold on there was pretty impressive. And I just think that shows a sign of this horse is just getting better, because not many were coming late, and he just held on with it in that spot. And then 2 back, ton of trouble. First turn was wide, got bumped out by the 7 in there. I think that was Naughty Nix, actually, who's in this race. So I just look for this horse again to take another step forward and sit that a nice forward stalking trip, and should be on the lead in the stretch, having others come late.
And that's the scary thing for me, Andrew, picking against this horse with the amount of tactical speed that Alpeland has. If he has the lead at the top of the stretch, it could just be over from that standpoint.
Yeah, so I think that in a field full of horses that are improving, going from 2 to 3, this one's improved, I think, a race before everybody else. Yeah. Where this one has that step advantage of a step up on the other horses in this field with having a stakes win like that. Sure, there's some other horses in here with stakes wins, but they're either restricted or on their dirt or whatever. And this one was an open company. I'm kind of confused with the gelding part, because the horse doesn't seem like it had too much trouble running wise. I'm sure it had a couple questionable moves on some of those trips, getting bumped and whatnot, but this horse always seems to win when it matters. And the workouts have been really good too. I think this one's the horse to beat in this field. Johnny V and Mark Cassie, once again, can't go wrong with them. And I mean, 20% last time out start for a win. Angle with Cassie as well. Yeah, Vekoma babies, I'm a sucker for anyway. So yeah, I think this one's the horse to beat here.
Well, considering they win 20%, Andrew, that's a good sucker to have for sure. Look, I completely agree with everything you guys said. Ultimate equipment change obviously doesn't help. I did think the same thing, Andrew, with this horse, but obviously this horse has worked lights out on the turf down at Palm Meadows. Also, shout out to Nitrogen, who just started working back again at Oaklawn Park. Patrick brought her name up, and I always like to talk about her when I can. So
that's cool. I didn't know that.
Alpeland, I think she just worked a bullet too, like 1 of 62 at a minute flat. So hopefully she gets back to the races here soon. But Alpeland is definitely the horse to beat. I do agree with you both. Turf Star is the horse I have on top. And Andrew, you might be completely right. It's just the fact that Alpeland has had that one race in between the, basically being off since the Breeders' Cup, and now this is a tough spot to come back for. But Graham Motion, probably one of the best, if not the best, at placing his horses where they can win and play. Bringing them back exactly when they're ready. Gaff Leone also hops back aboard this horse after riding in both the Bourbon and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Juvenile Turf, it's basically a no shot. Obviously, he didn't run that bad, but Gstaad was by far the best, almost the most impressive winner on the entire race card that day, if not the. He ran a good in the Bourbon behind final score and broke his main at Kentucky Downs, which we all know how I feel about that, but had some really nice races. It's just a matter of coming back. Caravaggio, Galileo mare, all the breeding seems to point to go. This horse has also been working at Palm Meadows religiously on the turf since coming back for Grand Motion, which is something that he likes to do. So I'm looking to Turf Star to come back off that layoff and run a really nice one. Another one that can have that tactical speed trip, which I think is needed to win this race, especially right now on the Gulfstream Park turf course. Just a matter of, will that Alpe Land race last time in the Dania Beach prove too much for Turf Star coming back off that layoff? And I think that's going to be the biggest question mark in there. The only other horses we have to talk about, guys, are the ones you have underneath. You have Pat, you have the 4 in Glorious Boy, which I know is a horse you are actually very interested in, at least on the underneath standpoint. And then Andrew, you can talk about Thousand Sticks, who I also have underneath.
Yeah, with Glorious Boy, this is kind of similar to the 2 Alpeland, just getting better race after race here. The rails last out in that same race in the Dana Beach, they were at 73 feet. So obviously that was playing very favorable to speed and horses that were up front. This horse came running late and just was one of the only ones running late looking at that race. And the pace in there. So I want to give this horse another shot in here and think this horse can pick up the pieces if there is some pace signed on here, which there could be. This could set up to be, a pretty fast race because the I believe it's the 8 Redland Rebels. I think that's the 8 horse for being Cohen and Jr. That horse from the outside, I would think is going to want to go, just watching how he won last out. So I don't know. This is going to be one of those try keys. I will say I'm spoiling something, but that's fine. This is going to be a try key for me because I do feel that this horse can get in the top 3, hoping that the pace sets up the way I think it will.
Yeah, I mean, back to back listed stake efforts, one of them being wins, one of them being a second in a pretty cold pace in the sprint at Aqueduct and then Dania Beach. You mentioned the rails out. Definitely against it from that standpoint. Now should have a more fair effort and gets Edgard aboard, which never hurts down at Gulfstream Park. Andrew, you and I both have Thousand Sticks in. I have him, I believe, in 3rd. You have him in 2nd. So both interested. One going to be probably part of a decently quick pace scenario, but he has shown the ability to rate before. Probably not his best race, but has the ability. Maybe if he sits the pocket, can sit a nice trip. And even if he goes, he's shown the ability to withstand some pressure.
I'm mainly on this horse because the connections and whatnot. Lynch is sneakily having a fire meet here at Gulfstream. I mean, this dude can't miss here. In general, like in the whole year, honestly, I mean, he was 63 for 295. I mean, that's pretty good. For one of those smaller barns with quality horses. But Mario Gutierrez, almost 50% out of 17 starts. If this was an even number, it probably would be 50%. At Gulfstream with Lynch, and then you go to the fact that Lynch is 38% out of 50 starts, win last time out. And this was going for 3 in a row. So it just shows that when Lynch has a horse going well, the horse keeps going well. And I think this spot is tough, but I think this horse is very game and could be there at the end and could be dueling down the lane with maybe Alpeland or one of our other horses.
I completely agree with you. I have really nothing more to add other than how good Brian Lynch is, especially down at Gulfstream Park. And with how speedy it's been as of recent, that can only benefit the number 5, Thousand Sticks. In the Kitten's Joy, I'm going 6-2-5. Pat's going 2-4-6. Andrew's going 2-5-6. Race number 6, guys, is the next race on, of course, in the penultimate leg of the Middle Pick5 that we're talking about, and it's everybody's favorite time of the day, the $10,000 Tapeta Claimer. You knew it was coming. It's a Bettin N Boozin show covering Gulfstream, so of course we have to talk about our favorite time of the day. To again, as I mentioned, $10,000 Claimer, 5.5 on the all-weather track. Field of 9 that draws in here. You can see by the picks on the bottom side of the screen. Pat and I lockstep. Andrew's right with us, though. All 428 in some capacity. Pat and I are 428. Andrew is 842. So, Andrew, I got to let you go first again, my friend, because you get to tell us why we're wrong and why you're going to be right with the number 8 in here, which is Readier for Luis Saez and Ron Coy.
Now, I don't think necessarily it's more of who's going to be right here, but because I like the 4 and 2 as well, just like you guys. But
that's true.
This horse, Readier, I think is going to be the one that has the first jump on all the speed, and there is a ton of speed in this race, especially all to the inside. I mean, the 1, 2, and 3 are all going to go. The 5's going to go. I mean, there is a ton of speed, and Saez should be able just to sit 3rd, 4th, 5th, maybe 6th. But not be more than 4 lengths off the leader. And I think going to the Ronald Coy barn, he's doing pretty good. I mean, he's 3 for 12. I mean, it's limited amounts, but that's 25% off the claim. And you attract Saez, who's never ridden this horse. I would say arguably is probably the best jockey to ride this horse. And, it's had a little bit of a layoff, but its workouts have been really good too. So everything seems that this horse is going to be fit enough to make that run. And I think that the pace scenario sets up so well for this horse, that a horse that has dominated on the Gulfstream Tapeta course, this horse is going to be live. And I think this horse is going to be running late.
Obviously 6 for 9 on the Gulfstream Park Tapeta is nothing that I couldn't pass up either. And Ron Coy, with the limited numbers, as Andrew mentioned, has been pretty good off the claim. Attracts Saez. Rule number 1 could be in effect of the degenerate Bill of Rights on Saturday. So I do like the number 8 as well. However, just maybe a little slow on numbers. However, not really, though, by any means. And definitely one that needs to be taken very seriously. Pat, you and I have the number 4. If not for luck, Irad Ortiz hops back aboard. One that's going to take a big step up with that aforementioned pace scenario. 81 buyer last time out for Bo Chapman. Now into the Amador Sanchez barn, which I'll bring up the numbers in a second. But when horses go to that barn, they tend to do very well first off the claim.
Yeah, he does well, especially at this meet, in the claiming races. But this just seems to be the perfect setup. This 7-year-old's in great form. And at this level, it's like this horse is running very, very well. That's why, at the beginning of the show, when we were talking about, this card, this is a very nice claiming race. Like this is, there's some decent horses in here with some nice buyers. So I think that, to say, this race is the lowest level we're going to cover tonight, but I just think that the way this horse has been running, coming from well out of it, this should fit right into what Irad wants to do. Especially looking at the time from US ratings, there's 5 horses that have over 100 early speed. I mean, you gotta figure, right? I mean, you do tend to like horses on or near the lead on the Tapeta, but this horse has shown that it does not mind coming from well out of it, and it has done it from being 3 or 4 and 2 back, was really wide, but got up late against the 8, I believe, in here, Readier. So I think this horse, as long as the pace is there, this horse is going to be charging late, Kyle.
I don't really even have anything to add because I completely agree with you all. I'll show Amador Sanchez's number first off the claim, just so we can get a visual on it. But everything you said, Pat, I completely agree with. Just hopefully DRF will actually load for me while I'm sitting here. Okay, 20 for 80 in the last 5 years, 25% on the win end, 51% of those in the money with $1.91 ROI. So really good numbers for Amador Sanchez off the claim. Picks up Irad, and you mentioned Pat. This horse is in probably the best form of his entire career as a 7-year-old. As long as he continues those numbers and the pace scenario is on, I really do like Not for Luck on Saturday. The only other horse we need to talk about, guys, apparently, is the number 2 High Limit Room for Safi after an amazing, amazing really even covers it weekend for Safi in the Pegasus World Cup weekend. But High Limit Room, Andrew, one of those that has the numbers to win in this race. However, just the pace scenario is the biggest question mark.
Yeah, but I mean, out of all the speed, I think this one's the one that's going to last the longest. And I think with the connections as well, I mean, if I'm going to have a horse that's going to be dueling on the lead, I'd rather have Safi and Gaffleone than the other connections that are in this race. But yeah, like we all said, that this race is going to set up for either the 4 or the 8. Wouldn't be surprised if both of them are the ones running down the outside. But if there's anybody that's going to hold, or if there's a couple scratches that might be key speed, I'm going to take the 2 as the horse that's going to hold on late.
Well, that's what I was going to say, right? Is that if the pace scenario doesn't heat up, Patrick, as we have been talking about so religiously over the past couple minutes, as also as it seems like we like to talk about a lot when we'd say, oh, this pace is going to be so fast and they're going to go 23 flat in this somehow. But this is the horse that's definitely the speed of the speed, and if it does hold up, high limit room seems like the most obvious case.
Yeah, I would agree. I just think there's absolutely no value we're going to get in this horse at all. And that's why I'm going to play this horse. I'm going to have this horse underneath and hope the 4 in here can come from out of it. But yeah, listen, I would not be shocked if Safi goes wire to wire. Just as I was shocked watching the final race on Pegasus Day, as I thought Safi was going to go 0 for 14 with horses. He does that in the Pegasus.
I went 1 for 13 on the whole card instead. So
so huge for the program.
There you go.
Yeah. Race 6, I'm going 4-2-8. Pat's also going 4-2-8. Andrew's going 8-4-2. And we're kind of skipping out on that race a little bit because, as Pat mentioned, there's actually some decent horses with some good buyers in there as well to the horses we mentioned. However, they're either part of that pace scenario or they're kind of just tailing off towards the end of their career. Race 7, guys, is the next race we're, of course, covering. And the last race we're going to be covering tonight. We are going to be giving our picks for the Forward Gallon, the Holy Bull, on the road to the Kentucky Derby down here in South Florida. Unfortunately, we will not be covering them in depth. However, that will all happen tomorrow, which is Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern with Howard, Pete, and Paul as they cover the full Late Pick 5 in depth. So if you want that, come back tomorrow. But of course, we will give you our picks for those races as we are covering the undercard for it. And while you're at it, if you guys are enjoying the show, please go hit the like button. We would greatly appreciate it. Last race we're going to talk about, guys. Race 7, allowance optional 35,000, mile and 3/8 on the turf, marathon type distance here for older males. As I show the pick on the screen right now, a field of 10. I'll put our picks on the screen. Andrew and I are now going the exact same top 3, both going with the number 2. Or no, sorry, I did that wrong. That's a host fail on my part. I will get that correctly because Andrew does not have the same, because I know he's very interested in one horse in here that I want him to start with. It is 8-10-4 is Andrew. Pat's going 10-4-8 with the number 10 without, who I'm also very interested in, but I have the number 2 Gun Barrel City on top. Andrew, number 8 Uncle's Gold, the Florida bred, which I know you've started a lot already tonight, but I'm going to let you start again because this is Mike Trombetta horse, which for people that don't know, Andrew's very good friends with Mike Trombetta's assistant, who also gets obviously talk from Trombetta. So when he has one of those horses on top, you better listen, which I'm going to listen as well, why he likes Uncle Gold.
Look, I mean, the Trombetta barn's been pretty cold this winter meet down at Florida, but they've been in some tough spots, and a couple horses that I was high on for that barn have just gotten some troubled trips. And they probably were the best on that day, or they ran close. But I like this horse a lot. This horse going for 3 in a row. The connections are very happy with how this horse is training. Edwin got on this horse on Sunday and came back with a lot of positivity on the horse. And yeah, I think this horse is in good form, like really good form. The stretch out is ideal here. We all agree on, me and the assistant. And the switch back to turf is also a move that I don't hate. I think this horse might like synthetic a little bit more. But at this distance, the turf is definitely, I would say, more suitable when it comes to this distance for this horse instead of the Tapeta. And yeah, Edwin Gonzalez rides pretty well for these connections. He doesn't ride often, but last year's meet, he did pretty good. And when he was back in the Mid-Atlantic, he would ride for them a lot too. So yeah, I mean, this horse is training well and has been running well, and is probably one of the better horses in the barn down there right now. And it's a tough field, don't get me wrong, but we'll get some value here. And I'll take a shot with the connections that I'm cool with.
No, absolutely. And obviously, this is a pretty tough spot, but paired by our top going with the old Matt Bernier angle, obviously, good friend of the show, with the paired by our tops to take another step forward. So, Uncle's Gold can definitely do that. Patrick, you're going with number 10 without. I mentioned how much I liked Graham Motion earlier. Johnny V also hops aboard this one. Obviously, long layoff, but with the works on the bottom of the screen, as I mentioned, Graham Motion likes to do, working on the turf all the way up to these races. Breeding's no issue. This horse could be very live as long as he's ready.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to watch the board on this horse, but you would think all signs point up here. Just looking at this race back in France, what is it? Saint-Cloud, I think it's called. SC, I think that's what it is. I don't want to pronounce it wrong.
It's St. Cloud, but I think that's how you pronounce it in French.
Okay. I don't want to say that because I know that will hurt
St. Cloud.
The natives over there. But what I'm getting to here, Aiden's Phone was 3-1 that day. Pretty good horse. I just don't think it needs to come from out of it like he did in that race. And that's why I think this horse is way more tactical, has worked with test score, and I'll let you guys watch it for your own. But from my eye, was even, if not better than test score in that work on the 17th. Sorry, no, I don't want to say the 18th of January. Pretty much outworked the Pegasus Turf winner. So I firmly believe this horse is ready to go. Does get the outside draw, but I want to give this horse a big chance because I do think this horse is going to be very good. We're going to hear from this horse later on in the season into the summer.
And that's the thing I wanted to preface. Obviously, I have the number 2 Gun Barrel City on top, but if Without's taking money and he's like second choice or favorite in this race, yeah, I will be going with Without. I'm very partial to my Lopa de Vegas. Obviously, after Carl Spackler, not only that, but everything Lopa de Vega puts out there is just absolutely fantastic on the turf. And again, if Without's taking money off that long layoff for Graham Motion, I will be heading there. However, I still do like Gun Barrel City. He showed a lot of promise early last year. Not sure what happened in between then and coming back at Gulfstream Park, but did no running, kind of got shuffled back in the middle of the race. Still ended up actually running on decently. I was first off a long layoff. Now coming back here and gets IRAD back aboard in this race, I feel like is going to be a very good tip in the cap. My problem is that that's also going to hurt the price of Gun Barrel City. Still think he won't be the favorite. You probably get around middling prices, but Frankel, Medagliadoro, this horse can run forever. Mile and 3/8 should be absolutely no issue for this horse. And if he can get back to that 85 form, if not better, which was, as I mentioned, going longer, I really do end up liking Gun Barrel City in this race a lot, as long as he is ready off of that layoff. I see a lot of new people in the chat. John Rice, thanks so much for joining the show. Greatly appreciated. Johnny V, Long on the Grass, is a must use. I do agree, especially with how he's been riding at Gulfstream Park. Terry Frank points out the number 4 Speed Figs for Durand, who we all have in there somewhere. This is actually the kind of the other Chad Brown in this race, really, because Edgard hops aboard here. Tyler's actually riding White Palomino, who is a horse that's been tried and tested, and we've talked about a lot on this show, which I'm going to actually head to Durand, but also Peter Galvin in the chat. Peter, thanks so much for joining the show. Greatly appreciate it. Chris Couples congratulates him on a huge win for the Pegasus World Cup Betting Challenge, which was unbelievable considering that he had a $2,500 win bet on Skippy Longstocking. Not only did that, gave that out at probably 8 a.m. that morning, whatever he put out that sheet for himself. So that was a huge win, and obviously big kudos to a good friend of the show and Chris Couples. Obviously Peter Galvin also points that out. Andrew, I'll tell you first. Pat, please add anything if you want. Durand is a Chad Brown horse. Edgard Zayas hops aboard. A little bit of a layoff since November, comes back after a 2.5 month freshening into this race. We talk about how Chad runs, Gulfstream Park, not his main winter outfit, but these races, sometimes they can show up, and surely if this horse runs anything like he has or even improves off those numbers, he could be very tough to beat in here.
Yeah, the only thing I have a question with is the layoff. But at this time of year, I mean, those layoffs are kind of common for horses like this, where that are turf horses shipping down south. But this horse is bred out the ass for turf. I mean, let's be real here. This horse is good. It's just a lot of question marks on why this horse hasn't had more wins than the one win it has. A lot of trouble trips, a lot of confusing results. But he's lost to really good horses like Mutaweed, Johnny Rendezvous. There's some good horses there that this horse has lost to. And I mean, I like the spot. Chad Brown, Peter Brandt. I mean, the only problem is that Gaffleon's not riding this one, and neither is Irad or any of the top jockeys that Chad uses. But I mean, Zaya is no slouch, and I think this horse has a lot of chances here, and just as much chances as all the other horses in this race.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Exactly what I wanted to mention with this horse. Again, if he improves off those last races, Pat, obviously he is a huge chance, if not probably the one to beat in this race. But also, given that, he probably will end up being the favorite in this race. Which, again, Chad Brown, you can look back throughout the years, Gulfstream Park favoritism, especially in non-stakes races, doesn't always end up being the best recipe for success. But White Palomino, Pat's also one that none of us have in there, but I feel like is worth a mention in this race. The Belmont Derby runner-up, also the Pennine Ridge runner-up. This horse can run for miles as well, but will be part of that pace scenario. Although last couple times he really has kind of lost that speed that he used to have, which is very interesting. Anything more you want to add, Pat, on either of the Chads before we move on?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about White Palomino a little bit, just because, they're going to stretch this horse back out, which I don't know. That's a telltale sign to me that Chad is just confused on where this horse has gone. Listen, the horse broke his maiden at Keeneland, which when Chad's horses break their maidens at Keeneland on the turf, did beat El Razine that day. This horse is pretty well meant. Goes into Pennine Ridge, was on the lead that day, and then in the Belmont Derby walked the dog and still couldn't win against Trickery. I don't know, guys. Now then they shorten this horse up a little bit. Can't do anything. Doesn't run a step. I'm against this horse. I'm hoping that with Tyler aboard, the credentials this horse has just from previous races, this horse takes a ton of money, and Duran is kind of the other Chad, as we like to call it, and can take a step forward, debuting. I shouldn't say debuting, but off the layoff. And is a decent price underneath. I could be wrong. I could be looking at it from the opposite angle, but that's the way I see it. And I'm against White Palomino at all.
Obviously, we all kind of agree with you. None of us have White Palomino in there anywhere, and I do agree with you. Although, obviously, his best races have come when he's been running longer, so that is something to keep in mind. However, I do agree with everything Pat said. In race 7, I'm going 2-10-4. Pat's going 10-4-8. Andrew's going 8-10-4. Guys, moving to, and again, we're going to give our picks on the two races that include the Oaks and Derby points, and then we move on to best bets and then end the show. Picks for the Ford Gal are on your screen right now. I'm going with the number 6, On Time Girl, but both my co-hosts agree with the number 5, Sneaky Good, who is a horse that kind of, not really under the radar, but a little slow. Cox Gaffleon, Ellen J. Foxwoods coming off a nice win in the Sandpiper at Tampa Bay, Andrew. Looks to obviously keep that going, but not only is that a good thing, but he's very versatile. Won on the lead on debut, but then came out of it in the next race. So many different ways to win for Sneaky Good.
Yeah, I mean, I think this race goes through Brad Cox, so it's either On Time Girl or Sneaky Good. I like both. I think Sneaky Good's gonna be a little bit more value, and I think Sneaky Good is exactly that. I think this horse is sneaky good, and I think this horse also is improving, and it's going to improve even more second time off the layoff. Coming into the 3-year-old, I mean, it's $450,000 purchase for LNJ. I mean, this horse is meant to be good, and I think this horse is good, and we'll see. We'll see Saturday.
Obviously, Pat, you agree. Pace scenario wise, anything to note? Obviously, I didn't think there was too much speed in that race, but it could end up being fast with the number 4 Mythical in there and the number 5 Imperatrice.
Yeah, I'll just say with Sneaky Good, definitely benefited from a pretty quick pace in the Sandpiper, but the way that horse galloped out wants more distance. This horse needs to get to 2 turns as soon as possible, and that'll start with a win in this race, the Forward Gal.
Yeah, look, obviously you guys agree. I just don't know how much pace there actually is, and obviously
Yeah.
very aided last time out. I'm going with On Time Girl, who I actually don't think needs the lead, and my hope is that she sits first off in this race. Obviously, I mentioned Mythical, the number 4, who's super fast early. Imperatrice, who has been fast both first two, both at 6 furlongs and stretching out to the mile last time in her maiden win, hoping she takes a decent amount of money. I know On Time Girl might end up being the favorite. However, I'm not sure how heavy of a favorite she will be. If she's 2-1, win bets will be coming in 5-2. IWW might be on the cards for On Time Girl. Irresponsible wager of the week for those not knowing out there. In the Holy Bull, guys. Andrew, I love that, my friend. Both going with the number 7, Nearly. Pat, you're going with the number 1, Incredible horse, I believe, for Riley Mott, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Winner of the Street Sense last time, and honestly, very impressive winner of the Street Sense last time. Comes off a little bit of a layoff into a pretty tough spot, but obviously you think he's ready, and what should be a pretty decent of a price.
Yeah, this horse first start as a 3-year-old. Say
Sorry,
again.
go ahead. No, I was going to say at least decent, not a big price, but he'll probably be somewhere middle.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Getting the rail too. I just think first start as a 3-year-old, this horse really matured last out in Street Sense at Churchill. Really liked that race. Drew the widest post and just came on with it late. And I really just think the way this horse cleared that field, this horse should really appreciate going 2 turns again in here. And I don't see why that freshening up shouldn't be any more better. And this could be Riley Mott's horse moving forward here in a field. Listen, that is very salty. And you guys are going to talk about the 7. There's multiple in here that are pretty good.
Yeah, and obviously a good rendition of the Holy Bull. We didn't know what we would come out of it. Of course, the thing I should mention is Butane will be scratched out of here after his flight was canceled. And the number 9, Game for It. Chad Summers already said they're going to wait for Tampa Bay. So both the 5 and the 9 are out in this race. Andrew, that leaves us with Nearly, who you and I both like a lot. Last time got a massive buyer. Obviously, this will be first time out. Going 2 turns for this horse, but at least the way this horse has ran the last 2 times, you would not think that it'd be any sort of issue.
Yeah, and I mean, this horse should benefit from the distance as well. This horse is, I think, the best in the field. Honestly, it might be one of the best 3-year-olds in the country right now. Johnny V, Todd Pletcher. I mean, it's weird not seeing Todd Pletcher take a horse from a main special weight win that's that dominant and putting right into a stakes race. The fact that he's been patient with this horse, and he kind of got an easy spot last time, only being a 4-horse field. But he dominated, never really was asked. He got a 97 buyer. Now stretches out off of a couple, pretty strong workouts at Palm Beach. Yeah, this horse should be the goods, in my opinion.
I agree. And I'm not sure, they said, how good he's actually going to be. The 97 buyer, especially at Gulfstream, I don't know why. It always kind of makes me double take, especially when he goes 49, 82, 97. In 3 straight races, not like off a layoff or anything like that, just 3 back-to-back races. But obviously, Todd's found a really nice place for him. He got an 82 and a Florida bred maiden, now goes to the optional claimer, wins by $1 million, never asked, and now coming into this race, much tougher spot, but anything like it. And Todd's not one to do that multiple times like this. I'm very interested in Nearly just. If he's a super low price, I'd be turned off, is basically what I'm trying to say there. But lots and lots of good racing and Holy Bull Day. Andrew, going to go to you first for your best bet. You talked about it a little bit. So anything else you want to add here at the end? But a win in race 7 on the number 8, Uncle's Gold, who is that Trombetta horse that you talked about.
So earlier I mentioned that I really like this horse in the stretch out. And as the show is going on, the assistant has been watching and also sent me a text message that the I believe it's a half to the Giant, which was a horse that actually was pretty good long, and then also won over like 2+ miles on the hurdles by like 18 lengths. And then on top of that is also a full to Crystal Quest, who is another good horse that that Trombetta has had. So yeah, I mean, all signs go for this horse to enjoy the stretch out, and it's just more more information that I was getting that it just proves my point that I like this horse a little bit more.
Yeah, and you can see I actually put it on the screen now for the siblings. Crystal Quest, very nice horse for Live Oak and Trombetta. And Tis a Giant, who, yeah, like you mentioned, at Midland, 2 miles and an eighth over the hurdles, wins by 16. So obviously distance should not be any type of issue for this horse. So obviously very good points made by both you and, of course, the assistants. So good luck to you guys and good luck to Trombetta's team with Uncle's Gold. Pat, coming to you next, my friend. Race number 5, the Tri-Key for Glorious Boy that you mentioned, and a win on the number 10 without in race 7.
Yeah, no, I won't go long. Glorious Boy, just pick up the pieces for me. Show me that you really can get it, can hit the board again. You've been running steady for the last 6 months here. Let's see if we can do it again. And I think that the 10 without, as Howard said in the chat, this horse is the time is now, I believe. If this horse wins or runs well, we're never going to get that price again, right? So let's hope the time is now for this horse. And don't play the Middle Pick5 without. All right, there you go. Listen to that.
The teacher wordsmith coming out in the comments. Good luck, guys. Like I said, if he's taking money, I will also be using that horse for sure. Definitely don't want to lose to that one. In my best bets, guys, I'm going race 5, winning number 6, Turf Star. I mentioned it a lot. Coming off of that layoff, Grand Motion's not one to place this horse as lightly. In the fact that this horse is going right back into the Kitten's Joy, I want to be a part of it. Turf Star for me in race 5 and in race 12, or sorry, not race 12, it is race 10, the Forward Gal. That is the number 6 on-time girl who I mentioned for Brad Cox. Does not need the lead necessarily. And in a filly division that has a lot of question marks, I really do like on-time girl to sit the pocket, tip out, hopefully at the top of the stretch, not sit last like the last time I said this, but sit the pocket and go by at the top of the stretch, have other horses come catch her. And if nearly is anywhere, nearly for that matter, nearly not 6-5, I will also be playing that horse on a win bet as long as I can get a decent price, which given the scratches in there, I'm not too sure what price we will end up getting on the number 7 nearly in the Holy Bull. Guys, thanks so much for joining me, and thank you all for joining me out there. It's been another great edition of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast with a little bit of difficulty, I guess, technical difficulty in the fact that we were originally slated to cover Oaklawn, but we were able to pivot. We had great viewership all night long. So again, with that pivot in there, is greatly appreciated. We had a bunch of new people in the chat. Peter Galvin, I've definitely seen your name around, but thank you for checking us out. We greatly appreciate it. John Rice, of course, was here, and everyone else in between. We greatly appreciate every single one of you watching Bettin N Boozin. For Andrew and Patrick Kunsel, I've been your host, Kyle Roscoe, in episode 166 of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast, covering the Middle Pick5 for Holy Bull Day on Saturday, January 31st. And if you want a full in-depth coverage of the late Pick5 for Holy Bull Day, come on back tomorrow, Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern for Picks and Ponies with Howard, Pete, and Paul. And until next time, everybody, crush those bets, win those photos, and stay safe, everyone. We'll see you in the next one. Have a good night.